David Eccles was a Scottish immigrant. He traveled to the Willamette Valley with his family and other Mormons in 1863. They followed the Oregon Trail through Baker County. A few years later, Eccles returned to Salt Lake City, Utah, to build an empire from nothing based on timber, rails, and banking. This included becoming a large shareholder of the then struggling Union Pacific Railway. The Elkhorn Range, nestled in the northeastern Oregon Blue Mountains, separates the dry, sagebrush-covered rolling plains of the Baker Valley from the fertile John Day Basin and Willamette Valley to the west. The old-growth ponderosa pine and fir forests that Eccles observed west of the Baker Valley during his migration to the Willamette Valley drew his attention and entrepreneurial spirit in the late 1880s. In 1889, David, his brother W.H. Eccles, and others incorporated the Oregon Lumber Company in Baker, Oregon. David served as president. Soon after, they built a sawmill and planing mill in South Baker. To get logs to the mills, Eccles secured a contract with the Oregon Railway and Navigation Company to be a primary provider of railroad ties. Next, he convinced the struggling Union Pacific Railway, which was rapidly closing down or converting from narrow gauge to standard gauge rail infrastructure, to give him the first pick of their equipment sales. Finally, 10 days after founding the Oregon Lumber Company, they founded the Sumpter Valley Railway. Now, the South Baker sawmill could be connected to their Sumpter Valley timber holdings south of the Elkhorn Mountain Range and beyond. A narrow gauge track width is 3 feet, whereas a standard gauge track width is 4 feet 8.5 inches. Narrow gauge is favored in mountainous terrain because of the sharper turning radius. In addition, they have lower equipment and right-of-way costs. Narrow gauge rails also nest between standard gauge rails for dual gauge service. In August 1890, the Union Pacific Railway delivered rails, tie plates, spikes, and other railway building materials for the Sumpter Valley Railway. Soon, narrow gauge tracks were being laid into the Elkhorn Mountains along the Powder River from the dual gauge South Baker rail yard. The train was nicknamed the Stump Dodger for the way it weaved through the logged areas. By October 1891, the rails had reached McEwen, milepost 22.379. The former stage stop soon had businesses, a church, and even a Chinatown. David Eccles' father-in-law, John Stoddard, formed the Stoddard Lumber Company and built a mill next to the Oregon Lumber Company in South Baker. At McEwen, Stoddard Lumber Company rails went north and south from the Sumpter Valley Railway main line into the hills. Railroad ties to build the Sumpter Valley Railway, Union Pacific Railway, and Oregon Railway and Navigation Company provided the primary income for the Oregon Lumber Company and the Stoddard Lumber Company sawmills. Logs were brought to spur lines by horses. Loaded onto rail cars and transferred to the mills for processing. Initially, both mills received full logs. Later, the Oregon Lumber Company rough-cut the logs at mill sites near the logging areas and shipped them to South Baker for finishing. Sumpter was founded by ex-Confederate soldiers as Fort Sumter in 1862. It was primarily a mining camp with placer gold claims. Eccles recognized the gold rush at Sumpter, only 8 miles from McEwen, could provide eager customers for goods and services his railway could deliver. On October 31st, 1896, the railway extension from McEwen to Sumpter was formally opened for service. Joseph Barton, the first Sumpter Valley Railway superintendent, in function, though not title, stated,
"An excursion was run from Baker. Flat cars, boxcars, any and every kind of car was in demand to carry the passenger from and back to Baker. I really do not know how many passengers were handled on that day, but it seems that almost the entire population of Baker were in Sumpter."
Soon, multiple passenger, freight, and logging trains were running daily over the 28 miles between South Baker and Sumpter. David Eccles Sr. died in 1912. Then, on the evening of August 17, 1917, the Sumpter Business District burned to the ground. At the same time, the local mining industry was playing out. Consequently, most residents chose to leave rather than rebuild. For the next decade, the railroad continued to grow its logging operations and serve the communities that depended on it for supplies. The automobile began making an impact on passenger service as roads slowly improved. The passenger service was reduced to a rail car or single combination mail, baggage, passenger car by the early 1930s. Freight service remained. Hauling lumber by rail was converted to truck by 1947, and only 1.5 miles of rail remained in the South Baker Oregon Lumber Company yard. The South Baker Mill closed in 1961, and the last section of rail was removed. Much of the railbed, with its gentle grades and scenic views, became the base for the current highway system. In the early 1970s, the U.S. Forest Service burned or dismantled most of the remaining structures for liability reasons. The Sumpter Valley Railway never failed to return a profit. Consequently, it was never subjected to bankruptcy or receivership. The sawmill and railroad remain separate corporations of the same owners for the life of the railroad. The Sumpter Valley Railway was the longest-running common carrier rail line to use wood-burning locomotives in the United States. The logging lines used wood until 1946, when the rails were removed. The railway also had one of the greatest mixes of motive power of any narrow-gauge railway, including wood, coal, and oil burners. In 1971, the Sumpter Valley Railway was reborn with the formation of Sumpter Valley Railroad Restoration, Incorporated. Local people, Eccles family members, volunteers, the Union Pacific Railway, and others made this possible. Rails were laid and spikes were driven by hand. Rolling stock was restored to working condition. On July 4, 1976, a 1915 Heisler steam locomotive, number 3, left the McEwen Depot with passengers. There was less than 1 mile of track. Since that inaugural run, the number of Sumpter Valley Railroad track miles and passengers miles has grown. Sumpter Valley Railroad number 19, a 282 steam locomotive built in 1920, was restored to operating condition in 1996. Coach number 20, one of the original passenger cars from 1890, was also restored to resume her prominence on the railroad.
50? Just 50. 140. 140. 105. 130. How many? 100. 135. 135. 75. 106. Correct answer. This car was built about 1884, which makes it 141 years old.
Hey, that's the second time I'm 105.
In 2007, the reproduction of the original Sumpter Depot was opened. Today, the narrow gauge railroad, which includes other rolling stock and portions of right-of-way from the original railroad, winds through the Sumpter Valley gold dredge tailings and timber between the McEwen and Sumpter depots. This heritage railroad appeals to families, history lovers, rail fans, and others seeking amazing memories and to make dreams come true. All of this remains possible because of the generous support and contributions from volunteers, donors, passengers, and others. Please consider helping the Sumpter Valley Railroad keep this history alive by volunteering, donating, or buying passenger tickets.